Brian Dumoulin is headed to New Jersey. Movement in the minors, that and more on this episode of Locked On Anaheim Ducks.
You're Locked On Ducks, your daily podcast on the Anaheim Ducks, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome to all my everydayers. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new FanDuel customers can get $150 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. That's right, $150 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. Check out FanDuel today. And thank you for making Locked On Anaheim Ducks your first listen every day, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today, we got to talk about the single trade that the Ducks made today so far, and that was Brian Dumoulin to New Jersey. And then we're going to get into some movement that happened down in the minor leagues. The AHL recalled a goaltender. And then I'm going to talk to you about a little bit of the playoff scenario or what the Ducks have to do the rest of the season to possibly make that wild card spot and what that'll look like. So let's dive into it. So if you were paying attention to Twitter or any of the internet today in regards to the Ducks, you saw that Brian Dumoulin was traded to New Jersey. We've been talking about him the last few days, and he was one of the main candidates that was going to be moving from the team. Unfortunately, he seemed like he really enjoyed being in Anaheim, and the guy said that he was the locker room DJ. So, unfortunately, the Tunes are going to be getting a hit as well as the D. But luckily, this kind of clears up some space for guys like Zellweger and Minchikov to be able to play a lot more minutes and play in a lot more meaningful games down the stretch here. In return from New Jersey, Anaheim got a prospect in Herman Traff, right winger. He was picked 91st overall in 2024 by New Jersey. He plays for HV71 Jönköping in the Swedish Hockey League. Sorry if I did not pronounce that right. I might have Swedish blood, but I don't know how to speak Swedish. And you know how Ducks are with their Swedes. We sure do love to get those Swedish boys in orange and gold out here. And then we got 7 points. This guy, Herman Traff, he's got 7 points in 25 games in his Swedish Hockey League team. So for a younger guy, I mean, he's playing against men out there. That's pretty decent. And he did get 2 points for Sweden in the World Juniors. Looking at just kind of recapping how Dumoulin's career was here at Anaheim, he did play 61 games, the only D-man on the Ducks roster who played all of the games this season. He had 16 points and ended with a +2 record, so definitely was not really the biggest offensive threat, but he did help out keeping pucks out of the net when he was on the ice, and his veteran presence did show as he is a 2-time Stanley Cup champion with Pittsburgh. And then, like I said, this finally clears up some space for Zellweger, Minchikov, and our other young D-men to come up and start playing in some meaningful games at the end of the season here. The Ducks did receive a conditional second-round pick from Jersey. So depending on how the playoffs go, we'll be getting that second-round pick in the 2025 draft. So looking at some reports on Traff, as he is out in Sweden, kind of a younger player, and he was later in the rounds there. Looks like he's got a really, really good shot, quick release, hard release when he does shoot the puck, and he's not afraid to play physical and get involved on the forecheck. However, from what scouts said, that he can get stuck out on the perimeter play, even though when he does lock in, he's got very good north to south NHL type play, but he's at this point a little inconsistent with maintaining that north and south style and can kind of get stuck out in that perimeter area. But from what it sounds like, when he is locked in, he's got a very large toolkit and he's got really good spatial awareness, especially in the neutral zone, and is able to get the puck through transition, which Anaheim they really love to play that transition style of play. And he is a younger guy, so he's got some time to groom and to come over to AHL, maybe play for the Gulls a bit, and then work his way up into the Ducks squad. So not overall, looks like it was a pretty good move by Verbeek. Like I said, it's been rumored that Dumoulin was going to be one of the pieces that was moved due to the smaller contract that Dumoulin had, and he is more of a veteran player and was taking some time away from the rookie players. And to be able to get a pick in the 2025 draft, I mean, second round, we've had some really great second round picks ourselves, so not too worried about it not being a first rounder. Everyone knows, like, just because it's a first round player doesn't mean that it's going to translate. Sometimes those second round picks end up being the better gems out there. So looking forward to seeing how that turns out, depending on how New Jersey's season and our season end with that conditional status. And with Traff, like I said, it's good forward to develop. Might be a depth guy, could end up being a bottom six forward for the team when he eventually does break the record. So Dumoulin, we loved you, bud. It sounded like he was just a great guy in the locker room. The Ducks used him pretty well throughout the season. Like I said, the only defensive player on the roster to play all 61 games, and just a solid all-around guy. Guys loved him in there. He was the locker room DJ. He's going to be doing good things out there in New Jersey. And now guys like Zellweger and Mintyukov do get to play a lot more minutes and a lot more games down in the stretch and get that better development. So it looks like the Pat Verbeek game plan has been in the works this whole time, and it's fallen right as he planned it. This guy, like, he's got that oh my gosh, drawing a blank right now. The Red Wings GM, he's got that type of mindset where you never know what's going to – the Eiserman plan, sorry. He's got that type of mindset where there is a plan in place, and he knows what it is, and only the inside guys with him really know exactly what's going on. So hopefully there's a lot more coming in the future for this team, and we can finally break that hump after the last few years. Next up, we're going to be talking about the movements down in the minor leagues, as there was some players recalled to the Gulls. We're going to talk about what that could mean and what that looks like for the team coming up next. All right. When the game tips off, the NBA action is just getting started, and there's no better place to get in on it than FanDuel, America's #1 sports book. With FanDuel, you can place live bets throughout the game, so even if you miss the opening tip-off or want to bet on a fourth quarter comeback, you can stay in the action. And if you're looking for a bigger payout, you can even combine your live bets into a same-game parlay. Basketball can be a very up and down game, and the live betting feature on FanDuel helps keep me engaged with the games whenever I'm not watching the Anaheim Ducks. It keeps me engaged with the stats of the game, the players out on the court, and I love a good comeback. So that live betting option is fantastic to get involved in the game. Right now, new FanDuel customers can get $150 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. That's FanDuel.com for your shot at $150 in bonus bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Okay, now, like I talked to you about before, we're going to be talking about the minor leagues. There was some movement for the San Diego Gulls this morning. News from the Gulls is that they have recalled goaltender Vyacheslav Buteyets from the Tulsa Oilers of the ECHL, which I got to watch in action against my hometown Tahoe Night Monsters, a game that did go into overtime, and he saw a ton of shots. He was playing really well. Buteyets is 13-9-3 with the Tulsa Oilers, and he has a 2.78 goals against average and a .904 save percentage. He is ranked second in all ECHL goaltenders in shutouts with 4. So definitely playing really well down there in the ECHL, the jungle as they call it. But what does this mean for the Ducks? They already had Ville Husso down there in San Diego that we traded for. So they've got 3 goaltenders now with San Diego. Is someone coming up? Is someone going down? What's going on there? We saw that John Gibson did leave the game last night he left it early due to a collision with O'Connor. Looked like he got hit in the head. So is this a move to get a goaltender up into San Diego so that in case John Gibson is out longer, the Ducks can bring up Husso and replace him to back up Dostal? Is this a trade potentially going down with Gibson? I've been talking about it all week. He did hit that 500 mark, one of the most tenured goaltenders for the Anaheim Ducks franchise history. And he is a great backstopper who deserves to be playing in playoff hockey. Looking at how the Ducks are now, that could be potentially an option this year for the Ducks squad. But does someone like Gibson want to go to a guaranteed team that's going to be in the playoffs and possibly have a long run? Not exactly sure where Gibson stands, as it's been up and down. There's a lot of reports that say he's done with Anaheim, and a lot of reports that say he loves it here. He loves the squad. He's boys with Zegras. Lots of good things going on with the locker room. And I've met him personally through different fan fests and at the arena and practice. And he's a great, great guy, great personality, and he treats the locals with the utmost respect. So not exactly sure what that move is with the Buteyets coming up to San Diego. It could just be because of Gibson getting taken out early from the game, just a preemptive move to cover the injury. But also, it could be that potential trade to where Husso will come up and back up Dostal if Gibson gets shipped off. We do have just under, about 18 hours left until the trade deadline is passed. So the next few hours, tomorrow morning, it's going to be refresh on all your Twitter, Blue Sky, Instagram, everything that you follow. We're going to be refreshing it. And then we're definitely going to be posting within the Locked On NHL channel and the network. Any shorts, any trades that come up on the Ducks, I'll be posting to the YouTube with YouTube Shorts, making sure that we're up to date, and you can catch all of that on the Locked On Anaheim Ducks YouTube. So not exactly, I wish I could come with a little more detail on the recall and what's going on with Gibson. I kept trying to find out if there was a report on if he was injured or not, or what's going on. No reports on if he's day-to-day or if he's just fine and it was a little protocol. We'll find out tomorrow as they take the morning skate before playing St. Louis. And speaking of looking at playing against St. Louis in the future games for the Ducks, coming up next, I got a little segment that I want to talk to you about, just basically looking at what the future possibilities are for the Anaheim squad moving into the next 21 games. So coming up next, we're going to be talking about how many points the Ducks have, how many they need, and just kind of what scenario it looks like for them to get into the wild card slot and enter the playoffs for the first time in over 6 years. So coming up, stay tuned. We got a lot to talk about. All right, so welcome back. Time to look at just what the Ducks scenario is shaping up to be in the last stretch here of this season. They're currently at 61 games played, so that means they have 21 games left, and they are currently 6 points out of a wild card spot. That is not a big hill to climb. 6 points with a few, we'll talk about it a little bit more, but few of the teams that they have to chase, they play multiple times. So it's going to be good. We got a lot of holding our breath and holding on to our seats coming up this next month and a half. The teams that they have to pass to get into the wild card spot is Utah, St. Louis, whom they play Friday, Vancouver, and Calgary. Now, good positives of this season so far. They have already surpassed their points total of 59 last season. So definitely an upgrade there with that 61 points. I did not think that they were going to be that much better this year after the way the start of the season went. It looked like it was maybe going to be a sub 60-point season again. But here we are, 61 points, and they've got 21 games left. So, we are on it. We're in the buzz. We are in the buzz. They're at exactly NHL 500 with the points. So, just kind of looking at what could possibly happen. This is like the ultimate dream hypothetical situation. But if they win all 21 games, they'll end the season with 103 points, which if you told me in October that they were chasing 100 points this season, I would have called you a lot more things than just crazy, because that's absolutely absurd. Obviously, that is like a very, very divine outcome. And for the rest of the season, like, that would just be absurd if they won all 21 games. But let's say they win every other game. That puts them at 82 points to finish the season, which isn't bad. That's not bad at all. So looking at Calgary, who is in the wild card spot, though, they have the same amount of games played as the Ducks, but they have 67 points right now. So if Calgary goes and wins half of their games that they have left, they'll end up with 88 points. So what does that mean for Anaheim? They need to win at least 13 of the 21 remaining games and take at least one of those games, 14th game, to OT. If they win, obviously that's way better, but they need just over 13 games wins to end up surpassing if Calgary only goes 500 the rest of the season. Coming up in that stretch of 21 games, the Ducks have St. Louis twice, Calgary twice. They have one more with Vancouver, and then they have Utah once as well within the span. So those are all huge 4-point games against 4 teams that they have to chase. They got a lot of games against the East Coast as well. So those games not as important in the race when it comes to the wild card, but we got to be definitely paying attention to the games against St. Louis, Calgary, Vancouver, and Utah. With how things went against Vancouver, granted it was a back-to-back, I think they were playing a very structured game. Cronin came out and said that they just weren't playing their game. They were tired. They came out sluggish right off the hop. You felt towards the end of the second they were playing well. And unfortunately, the game-winning goal was kind of a controversy, with Dostal having 2 Vancouver players literally behind him in the blue paint, one of which was basically in the goal. Kiefer Sherwood hanging on to the crossbar, just chilling back there. Ref said it was the Ducks players' fault. They pushed him into him, but I don't know. You be the jury on that one. Toronto, I don't know what you have against Anaheim, but it always seems like there's a little bit of a bias when it comes to the Ducks. Not sure what we did to upset the league in that aspect, but I don't want to be like, one of those guys, little conspiracy theorists and whatnot. But like I said, a lot of big games coming up. Ducks, if they can get past that point where they are entering into the season with confidence, they're winning those games, especially the ones against the division rivals. And in the conference, those rivals as well, there's a big chance that we could be seeing some postseason action for Anaheim. Like, I am definitely looking forward to that. So again, just to kind of give you a recap, if the Ducks do win all 21 games, all 21, they'll end up with 103 points. Like, imagine that. Ducks go from 59 points last season to 103. Obviously, that's like complete fairy tale type status right there. But even if they got to 100, that would be pretty sweet. Past 90, that's 40 points more. Like, hey, let's do it. Come on, Ducks. You got this. Let's go. And they need to at least surpass it. It looks like 88 is kind of the mark, because that's Calgary at 500. Calgary is that last wild card spot right now. So if the Ducks can get past 88 points, that's 13 wins and at least 1 overtime. Is it doable? I think so. Is it possible? I think so. Is it probable? That's to be seen. And, you know, it's right now is just a great time to be a hockey fan and especially an Anaheim Ducks fan. I think Leo Carlsson, ever since the Four Nations tournament, he's got a lot of confidence. Trevor Zegras, who looks like for now will be at Anaheim Duck on Friday night against St. Louis. All signs are pointing to he's staying. Gibson looks like he might be here. That's the hope. I honestly, Fabry is kind of the only other piece that I see moving from Anaheim, but we'll have a big update on that with the trade deadline tomorrow. It is at noon Pacific tomorrow. Friday is when the trade deadline ends. So probably spend a little bit of time after that to really find out, make sure there's no last minute trades, no last minute contracts coming through, because they do give them a little bit of time. You know, it's based off of the old faxing system. So sometime in the afternoon tomorrow, probably about 2:00, we'll be coming with another episode discussing the trades that did occur or did not occur and how I feel about the way things go and what Pat Verbeek has in store for this team. So fingers crossed that a lot of the Ducks are still Ducks tomorrow and that nothing crazy comes out of the woodworks and Pat Verbeek decides to shotgun the team tomorrow. Let's just hope it's. I mean, obviously, it would give us a lot to talk about, and as a reporter, you want those types of crazy, dramatic stories. But as a fan of the team, would love to see not too much movement tomorrow from Verbeek, and we don't really need too much draft picks anymore. We've got a good prospect pool. The Ducks, they have a good prospect. I keep saying we as if I'm like part of this team. I feel like it. I think that's a hockey fan thing or something. I heard them talking about it on Chicklets, like Ducks fan or hockey fans act like the cap is their money and stuff. But the Anaheim Ducks, hopefully tomorrow, don't make too many crazy changes, and they go on a tear of the rest of the season and come away with above 90 points and get us some playoff hockey out here in Orange Country. With this storybook type story unfolding, or that could unfold, what better time to get your family and friends into Ducks hockey, guys? Come on now. Make sure you share, like, subscribe, and share with all of your current and soon-to-be fans. Share that Locked On Anaheim Ducks show. Get us out there. Get the name out there. Tune in every day for daily Anaheim Ducks content. And thank you for making Locked On Anaheim Ducks your first listen today. For your second listen, check out the Locked On NHL podcast. Tomorrow is going to be huge with all of the trade deadline coverage we're going to be bringing as a network, bringing you the daily league-wide stories that matter with the local coverage you love from Locked On. Find Locked On NHL on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. Again, I'm Kyle Carr. Thank you for listening. Be good out there. Like, subscribe, and share. Take care.